Steam Early Access has been around for a couple months now. The concept of helping out with the development of a game is a rather enticing thing for the consumer. It allows them to steer a product in a direction they would enjoy rather than a business model with ulterior motives. Lately though, it seems like there's been some rather unsettling signs and glaring red flags that the concept of an early access may be leading in a rather shady direction. While this may not be true for 100% of the games in early access, I'd like to take the time to analyze and speculate on some certain ideas and aspects of buying into early access. This is all done to help you make a more informed decision about buying into early access, and possibly enlighten game developers that want to look into this model of development for the next game. First and foremost, let's detail what early access is. Buying an item that is advertised as early access means you're buying an unfinished product, one that may not have a completion date, and will most likely be riddled with bugs. Buying this product gives you the privilege of either reporting glaring bugs you find, or having the ability to input some creative ideas into the game. The latter is purely speculative though, and there's no guarantee that developers will listen. While you and the various other consumers are signing a contract with the developer saying you get the product early and get to help with its development, remember that the individual input given is a drop among a sea of information that other consumers are giving. It also doesn't help that Steam doesn't give refunds for products since you're buying a license to play it through Steam rather than the actual game itself. It is the highest risk-reward investment a consumer can make. This is a big problem because the logic of paying for the privilege to test and influence a game is a complete step backwards in terms of business models. Most AAA game companies actually hire people to a quality assurance department in order to bug test their game and release it, which begs the question, why should I have to pay to test a game when these guys get paid to do it? Understandably, indie companies don't have that funding or the public image to work with the QA department, but using high price tags and using the logic of paying to work for the game's development isn't exactly good for a company's image to begin with. It'd be better to just give people a reason to buy your game outside of helping with development in order to justify these stark costs. That being said, there are games that have phased from early access to an actual release, and some games that don't carry the element of risk at all. Don't Starve is a very widely known example. The survival sim exploded in popularity with Clay's dedication to development and brilliant marketing, which came together to benefit the tester in a very low-risk investment. Unepic, well, not a very outstanding game, entered Steam via Greenlight and is on early access for its multiplayer segment. Despite this being a new feature, which requires a copy of the game, there's no element of risk with this early access because you own the game to begin with. Kerbal Space Program is another interesting success story. While it's not released as of yet, the developers have been wildly popular due to their meaty additions to the game along with a complete and versatile game engine. These games are proof that the system can work, but like everything else, it has issues. Early access has been riddled with red flags that reek of bad developer choices. One example is Planetary Annihilation, a game that demands $80 for the privilege to test out their game, and claims in that same breath that it's used as a deterrent for people who are expecting a full game. Prison Architect also uses this logic, though in a less excessive manner with a lower price floor and wider price ranges. Arma 3 is a third example of this, demanding full payment of the game at $45 to get into Steam Early Access and the full game on Steam at release. Which is silly because you're using Steam to beta test the game anyways. High prices aren't a deterrent to wannabe testers, they are a deterrent, period, and can only hurt your development process. This needs to stop. Conversely, some game developers actually give reasons to invest in their unfinished game, either by giving more of an immediate benefit or downplaying the risk involved. A good example, again, is Don't Starve and its early access campaign. Purchasing a copy while it was on Steam Early Access not only got you 10% off, but you also got an extra copy of the game to give to a friend. This not only lowers the perceived risk of the purchase through more items received, but it also fosters the idea of having a gift to give to friends or a monetary bargaining chip for trading. Prison Architect is another good example of this. While their initial sales model is somewhat alarming, the bigger models offer either Introversion's past games for free, or even a self-insert into the game's random prison generator pool. Introversion also offers an upgrade deal, allowing you to step up your investment if you ever want extra flair on your game beta. This model is nice because you actually see your creative input being muscled into the game, which reduces or eliminates the perceived risk for the consumer. Edge of Space offers a 30% discount for what the final product would be, along with a unique in-game item, so there's more motivation to jump in and help out. Tangible benefits would be a far better way for developers to get the word out since it would benefit both sides of the trade outside of just developing the game, and the word would naturally spread when developers offer incentives to test out their product. It's a win-win situation for both the developer and the consumer. Another red flag I've been seeing with early access games is shady attention grabbers on the front page of Steam, such as progress reports or actual sales for the early access game. In terms of progress reports, Kerbal Space Program and Prison Architect get constant front page ad space for each update they get. What bothers me is that a progress report shouldn't be advertised as a selling point. It should be expected by the consumer to see their investment getting headway and work. While their actual progress of the game is admirable, using front page ad space on Steam gives the impression that they are fishing for more sales rather than saying, hey, we're doing stuff, come on in and join us. Discounts also contribute to this problem since we're bringing unwarranted attention to an unfinished games, and sales usually bring in people looking for a quick, dirty game experience rather than people who want to help out with the development of a game. Nemoria recently went on sale several times before, and from the time I purchased the game to its first actual sale, there were only game rebalances and retooling of mechanics rather than actual innovation in the game. While advertising may be necessary in order to get the word out for an early access game, the methods used to advertise these products just seem to give off a rather foul image of the developer rather than an earnest desire to develop a game. One last problem I'm seeing with the early access model is the shocking amount of alpha builds for games flowing into the Steam store. War for the Overworld and its so-called Bedrock beta barely have a working game available, and it's $20! Planetary Annihilation is very vague about what they have completed so far, and it's a whopping $80! Kenshi outright states they have no audio whatsoever, and they ask for $15 for their product. Kinetic Void says their game mechanics are ready but not complete, and they ask $20 for the alpha access. This bodes ill for the concept of early access because it allows developers to cash in on an unfinished concept with little to no accountability or expectations. Some games, like Mercenary Kings or Nemoria, are actually doing things correctly since there's a working game engine that either needs bug fixes or balance testing, and there's no actual holes in their game engine so far. That said, the amount of games that are barely games at all was a problem the moment one game got away with the excuse of alpha development. This needs to stop. Now. If you barely have a working game engine to offer us, what motivation do we have to buy it? Right now, Steam Early Access is moving towards a point where better standards are needed for what gets in. Though some games are working and did very well thanks to the idea, other developers are playing fast and loose with the concept, taking advantage where they can. Certainly a bad thing for the consumer and the developer's public image. Ultimately, though, the success of any game in Early Access boils down to the consumers. So as a consumer, be sure to stay informed, do your research, and balance the risk that comes with actually buying into an early access product. You're paying for these products with both cash and your trust in a developer. Don't let either of these finite resources get squandered.